Links with Friends. It's now its own channel. We're going to start posting the news. Oh, I've said the word. We're going to start posting stuff like that there on that. There's a link for that. Check that out. Links with Friends.
And if you don't subscribe, you can't be a friend.
Ooh, get in on your parasocial friendships now.
Oh my gosh. But yes, more of this kind of stuff and specials every week. So we'll see.
Bye. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Links with Friends. Today is April 8th, and we're doing government and social stories for the start of your week.
And this is definitely a we told you so moment, right? Although it doesn't matter that we told you, because you don't really have to participate here to be utterly screwed by what is going to happen.
The FTC says that the 23andMe purchaser must uphold existing privacy policy for data handling. Excuse me for having very low confidence that this will actually come to pass, because what will actually happen is somebody will buy 23andMe, and whoever buys them says, "Oh, we've published an update to our privacy policy," and then they just do what they want.
Also, hasn't the FTC been, I'm not quite gutted, but sort of gutted? I mean, like...
Very low confidence.
Now, they claim that this includes being able to delete. So, presumably if you bought it and you didn't put it online, you would still have to have some mechanism to let people delete it? I don't think that's going to happen.
There have been so many people deleting what they can from 23andMe that the website has gone offline a couple of times from people trying to delete their stuff. So hopefully they are able to delete their stuff. So if there's a button you can click. So if you think you have data there, you should log in and try to deal with that. But again, low confidence.
And the FTC is getting some changes.
The FTC tells staff to stop calling the agency independent in complaints.
So, it's funny because they sent this really bureaucratic letter. And it's like, make the following adjustment. I can't see it, but they only took out the one word.
Yeah, it's like, this is definitely part of the executive branch because of the executive order or something. I don't know. It just seems like a mess.
Now, obviously you can't defend that, but let me sprinkle a little nuance on this, because there's a thing you can go and look up. Somebody in 2019 did some research, and they figured out that in the 2 decades prior to 2019, they looked at the top brass at the FTC, and 75% had major revolving door violations. So if you think the government is just like the government here, no, this is big tech.
Yeah.
That's who runs that agency. And a lot of people are losing confidence in the dollar. That might have accelerated today.
Probably by the time you guys see this, who knows how much worse it'll be.
But yeah, we're the reserve currency. And if you don't understand what that means, you should figure it out, because it's very important. If we lose that, oh boy, is your life going to change. And Larry Fink says he thinks that's coming.
BlackRock CEO Larry Fink warns the dollar is at risk of losing its world reserve currency status to digital assets like Bitcoin. I would say the dollar is at risk of losing world reserve currency status, period. And he's like, please choose Bitcoin as the alternative. Please.
The last bit is a little bit of marketing hype, but he's probably right about the first part.
Yeah.
We have not been good stewards of the world reserve currency. Although I think there's a good argument that because it's so advantageous and because we have that privilege is why we've let these asymmetrical trades exist the way they have. And if we're not doing that, then maybe it removes a lot of the reason for the rest of the world to tolerate that. Not sure it's a good system, but it's going to be a big difference if it's not the system. And tariffs are here. They start, tomorrow for you guys in earnest? They're now at the...
For you guys, for all of us.
No.
All of us Americans.
No, but they're at the statutory 5% or 5 or 10% tomorrow. And then on Wednesday, the full throttle, everything. But there has been a last-minute reprieve.
Trump administration exempts computer chips and copper from sweeping tariffs, but only for now. Report says chip tariffs are coming later.
Who do you think pulled him aside and was like, no, we cannot do that?
I don't know. I mean, the article seems to indicate that this is just a delay and not necessarily, these could even be higher.
Didn't the last time this happened, like the Republicans lost control of the government for like 60 years, the last time tariffs were a thing?
Well, I mean, the thing about it is, right, if you look at the statistics, like most people, real estate is what matters because you own your home. Like that's where all your money is. But the top of so many percent, all their money is in assets. But the thing is, that group of people whose money is in assets control 70-80% of the wealth and power. So yeah, you're pissing them off. You're pissing off the power. And another, it's just the coincidences are really piling up here. I mean, at what point are we recognizing a trend?
Trump's auto tariffs are a gift to Tesla because guess what? They're put together here. Although it's weird,
They're not well put together.
He gets a lot of material from foreign components. So
I don't think it's going to matter for him. And the CHIPS Act is Trump has made it very clear he's not a fan of the CHIPS Act, and I guess he can't just undo it. So he is going to try to just move some shells around, maybe.
The Guardian's headline is Trump has signed an order to set up a new entity to take over Biden's CHIPS Act program. Now, what actually happened here was the people that were all fired by DOGE, I guess, there wasn't enough people left to administer the CHIPS Act to dole out the money or make sure that
there's oversight for the money.
Yeah, the money that they had already distributed was being used properly. We know that Intel has delayed their fab until 2030, for example. And so part of this is also setting up a new entity to actually do the administration because the other people were gone.
This will go to the Investment Accelerator, which is part of the Commerce Department.
If you're one of those people who was overseeing it and got fired, you should be charging a lot more if they ask you to come back.
Is that Commerce Department spooling up things like steel production and all the stuff that we used to import so we can make it domestically? That's all going to be available overnight, right?
Well, I don't think the government should be spooling up anything. That shouldn't be involved. And I vaguely remember this. I don't know if we covered it, but it seemed like it was, from reading this was not a contentious prosecution. It seemed like the evidence was there.
Yeah.
So another sus pardon, maybe.
Trump commutes the sentence of Ozy Media founder Carlos Watson. So in a commuted sentence, he's not pardoned. He's just, okay, you've served your time, get out, right?
No, it was suspended. Or no, it was delayed or whatever. He was supposed to report today for us.
Wow.
So this was the last minute. Somebody advocated on his behalf. Somebody with money and power, I would say.
Yeah, I don't recall this. Like, he was like, yeah, I got caught.
One of the crimes was, it was all a big confidence game, and he was getting a lot of venture capital. He was about to close a funding round worth like hundreds of millions.
Yeah.
And one of the things that they did was one of his people impersonated the YouTube CEO on a conference call.
Life is just a 30 Rock skit. Like, it's just...
And oh boy, how long has it been since we were told by all the governments and banks that crypto was money laundering and fraud? Because everything has changed.
FDIC rescinds its guidance around banks and crypto. Previously, the FDIC said, no, you need to run all this through us. We need to give you approval. It's got to be something that makes sense. It's got to be something strongly implied that it was a stable coin type thing. When they rescinded the guidance, they're just saying, oh, yeah, you guys, you do you. You use your best judgment. So that's sort of horrifying and shocking.
Putting money under the mattress has never looked better.
They can engage in activities, including digital assets, provided that they adequately manage the associated risks.
Yeah, that's like nothing.
Does anybody remember 2008?
They also were required to adequately manage the associated risks in 2008. We see how that turned out.
It turned out fine for them. The rest of us all kind of got screwed.
That's true. Yeah, they had. And the government agencies were happy to jump in there and help them whenever they made that mistake.
Too big to fail.
And the tariffs are hitting, and it's hitting everybody pretty hard, but some specifically are taking a massive hit.
Apple has its biggest stock drop in 5 years because of Trump's tariffs. Amazon and Meta are also down 7%.
Apple runs an average, this may not be confirmed, I don't know if they give us this information, probably just speculation or calculations, but according to, who is this? Verge, 38% margin, average.
Yeah.
So will they take the hit?
No.
Or will you? Because some people are estimating that a new model of iPhone, if they continue to progress the way they have been, could be $2,700.
And for that reason, I'm out.
Also, the S&P 500 is down like 7 or 8% in the last week.
That was like 5190 before we started. So I'm liquid. Take it down. I want to buy low. We'll come out of
We have a
this.
retirement plan, but
There goes the 401k.
yeah.
There's been a joke in the computer science world for a while now that, hey, if you want to guarantee yourself a job, just learn COBOL, because the government still uses it and nobody knows it. So just learn it and you'll be set for life. You can just get a cushy government job that nobody else knows how to do. If you took that advice, you're probably in a very short term going to be screwed and then wildly in demand, like
Yes.
maybe 2 months from now.
DOGE plans to rebuild the Social Security Administration code base in months, risking benefits and system collapse. They're literally going to kill
That's-
somebody's grandma. Somebody's grandma is going to die because they didn't rewrite the code properly.
If you've ever worked on any kind of like software development project, hearing like months for something that big should like terrify you. Yeah.
Millions of lines of COBOL.
Not only something that big, but something that so few people understand.
Yeah.
There's going to be,
And they've already fired all the people who knew where the bodies were buried. Like,
and the one of the people that's working on it, the guy, I think the guy ahead of it is one of those young
yeah, like 20
those
years old.
guys. So he's going to vibe code his way through COBOL. He's not going to learn it at all, and it's going to be crazy.
The most amazing description of vibe code that I've seen so far is one coder can do the technical debt of 50 coders.
No comments, no documentation. Ugh.
And we like to talk about trade and stuff like that, international. But one of the maybe things that you don't talk about in polite company is the fact that our major export is war. But the problem is, as much as we're creating new wars, we're pissing everybody off.
U.S. is concerned, U.S. businesses, I should say, I'm going to just go ahead and modify that headline, concerned about Europe's desire to buy less American weapons.
But
Gee,
we're really good at it.
Gee, that's so weird. Yeah, I saw the French fighter jet company is like, we don't know how we're going to make all these jets.
So, yeah, they probably don't have much of a choice, at least in the short term.
I think also things are about to go super asymmetric. Like Taiwan could become a major arms manufacturer just from the software side of it, because everything is going to be autonomous drones and boat drones and submarine drones, and just the autonomy and the computer science and the, just that whole thing is going to be. And I don't like what American companies are equipped to deal with that. We're too entrenched doing it the old way.
You know what's interesting is nobody's talking about just maybe not having as much war.
Yeah.
Maybe just dial that back.
There's never been a better opportunity to have war with this level of dysfunction and lack of intrigue and Machiavellianism.
But also, the big hurdle to war is all the dead people. But if it's just robots killing each other and you extracting wealth, you'll get much less pushback.
Yeah.
It's so much easier to have global war.
We're just living in the BattleBot future.
And the FAA is, as usual, serving their masters. And by that, I don't mean the public or the government. I mean the rich people with planes.
The FAA is hiding private jet details, may not stop celebrity jet trackers. So one jet tracker says he doesn't rely on the FAA database to identify jets anyway. There is kind of a ham radio movement. Is like just set a thing on your roof and listen for the transponders.
Yeah, the SDR, you can pick up but you'd have to know what numbers correspond.
Oh yeah,
That's what this database is. But you remember it's the guy that was tracking Taylor Swift and Elon Musk, got banned from everywhere. He says he doesn't rely on that.
Yeah, he said there's other sources for that stuff.
These Chinese nationals gave me this amazing box that does all this stuff. It's so wild.
And it seems like we're probably cruising toward a federal law here because every state is picking this up.
New Jersey passes law criminalizing deepfakes. I looked at it, and it does, it's like criminal use, using it for deception, but man, there's a lot of stuff in there that could be misused.
Maybe a little too broad.
Yeah.
It'll definitely be used to any kind of criticism for government.
Or like the Elon Trump foot video would get you in jail.
Technically, the yardstick that I always use are those Twitch streams with like Obama and Trump doing like Minecraft.
Playing Minecraft, yeah.
And it's like that could like you could have just somebody that's butthurt, and that would fall under this law.
But can you protect yourself by flagging it? Because doesn't Twitch have a thing now?
I mean, yeah, but what if somebody takes the clip out of context? You'd still be liable the way that it's written.
I guess. And the social media blocking laws. We've talked a lot about this. This is supposedly to keep kids from social media because it's bad for them, but it requires everybody to submit an identification, a picture identification that will be stored, which is a horrible security risk. And one federal judge got it right.
Arkansas social media age verification law blocked by federal judge. And this is your almost weekly reminder that all of these sites have a label on them anyway, and you can just install software that is like, hey, if the site has this label, don't show it. Or get a router that does that.
There was a quote from the judge in this article where he was like, you guys have taken a machete to this when you need a scalpel.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Virginia is, doubling down on the Orwellian stuff. It is true that some people are just horrible and monsters on the road, and maybe they should be stopped. But you know what? We have a system of stopping them. Take away their license. But they don't want to do that. They don't want to do it for DUI. They want to give you the scram tether. They want to give you the ignition lock. And now this.
Virginia to become the first state to make speeding impossible for some drivers. D.C. has a similar law that will make high-tech equipment to force cars to obey the speed limit.
It's the same that we have on trucks, like big trucks. So, yeah. You'll pay for that. You'll pay a subscription, and they will churn you for every dollar you've got, which you deserve for being a monster. But what you should do is not drive.
Not driver. I mean, that's kind of hard in the U.S., right? Like,
well, don't get a DUI.
oh, okay. You're saying if you were a DUI.
Yeah.
You said it so broadly. It was like, wait, what?
You don't get that
Yeah.
until you've had, like, reckless driving twice.
Yeah.
For now. Now, I'm not saying...
I was going to say...
I'm sure in 5 years it's going to be like, well, if you want Allstate, we're going to have to install this.
No, in 5 years, it's like if you want Allstate, you're going to have to be driven by robots. You're not allowed to drive.
And your robot has to have a speed limiter. And nuclear is, for years, we were terrified of it, and now the data centers need it, and so here we go.
Nuclear is now clean energy in Colorado after Governor Polis signs bill. It's more, I was thinking about this, I was reading this, and there is a lot of transparent quotes from the people in the industry. What actually happened is that nuclear was threatening to make the cost of electricity cheaper because the demand wasn't so high. But now the cost of electricity, it's still high. They don't care about that. The people that own the utility companies don't care that the cost of electricity is high. They care that they're leaving money on the table because they literally can't supply electricity for the demand that it is. Like the cost would just be so insanely high, it would attract attention and be weird and might spur other people to do other things. And so now the cost of electricity is still going to be higher than it is, but they're going to sell more of it. And that's the whole reason that nuclear is suddenly okay, which is insidious.
That was a long way to go to describe supply and demand. And
it's a corrupted supply and demand, though, because if it were truly supply and demand, it wouldn't, like the margins would be constant, but instead the margins get big and then they get small, then they get huge.
Well, yeah, everything under regulation is going to eventually be corrupted. And here, was this corruption or was it something else? No one seems to know except maybe the feds, but we're getting a lot of weird signals from this one.
Cybersecurity professor faced China funding inquiry before disappearing, sources say. Everybody should read this article. So this has happened 3 or 4 times that we've covered over the last 5 years, and every time so far, the federal government has just been insanely overreaching. So supposedly this guy was being investigated for not reporting that China may have funded some research, but other research was funded and other universities were involved and other professors and blah, blah, blah. This person accepted a professorship at the University of Singapore and perhaps rightly disappeared because things were getting sus. And so, but he has a lawyer, and the lawyer's like, they're fine, they're safe, they haven't been charged with anything, and they haven't even seen what the probable cause was to have to like search their homes. Like, there's a warrant, they got a warrant, but like, what's the probable cause for the warrant? The lawyer can't figure it out. Very sus.
And he's been fired from, what was it, Indiana University or something?
He was quiet fired. He was just deleted from the webpage.
He has tenure, which requires certain, checks and balances before they actually fire you. It's actually very difficult to do. They didn't do any of that. They're just like,
bye.
Yeah, they sent an email, deleted it.
Yeah. He did ask to be put on leave so he could go to the University of Singapore.
No, that's next semester.
Yeah, it was the next. So it's highly unusual that they would just do it immediately and delete him and delete his wife. They deleted his wife too. They're just zoop, deleted.
And here is a court case. And if you're thinking, wow, I haven't heard about this one. Yeah, because it was 14 years ago. That's how long it takes to play out.
Google ordered to pay $100 million to settle advertisers' class action. Yeah, this is the one that we always talk about from 14 years ago. And $100 million over 14 years, that seems like a really good deal. Like, they're probably high-fiving each other. It's like, oh.
Yeah, okay, $100 million. You mean Google?
Yeah.
Yeah, but also 33% plus 3.4 million. So just scratch off 40 million of that, goes straight to the lawyers.
Well, $40 million for 14 years of work.
Still pretty good, right?
That's still pretty good.
Well, depending on how big the team is to split it.
You probably weren't working the entire year either, because it moved so slowly. Yeah. That was the per hour there, quite nice, I'm sure. And here is, this is like the slippery slope, right? The Overton window. We have entered the worst part of it. I mean, well, no, it's going to get worse. But this was unthinkable. How many years ago would this be unthinkable? 5?
1?
7? And we were told this was never going to happen.
The Telegraph in the UK's headline is, "Use facial recognition for all crimes," the police are told. Telegraph investigation reveals forces are conducting searches on the public every 2 minutes.
And the headline downplays it, if you can believe it, because it's not just crimes. Every person they touch in an investigation, witnesses, relatives in the house, if they take your ID, if they look at you on a body cam, they're going to run you through facial recognition.
Also, isn't the UK just losing their mind right now with like harassing grannies for posting things on social media like, "I don't care for the direction of this administration"? Meanwhile, the robberies go unsolved. Is it really that bad?
Yeah.
Engagement challenge.
And if Granny lives with you, when they come to your house to question her about that, they're going to run you through facial recognition. Yeah, they've lost it. The UK has lost it. Whatever they had resembling freedom. And even though they are not part of the EU anymore in those terms, that organization has also gone insane with authoritarianism, and they want global governments and global law enforcement.
European Commission takes aim at end-to-end encryption and proposes Europol become an EU FBI. They want to snoop on everything. They want it's like, oh, this is lawful access. It's like they can't. Did you not see the Salt Typhoon stuff that happened here in the U.S.? It'll be that way, but worse, because it's the European Commission.
And they want a law enforcement agency that usurps all the sovereignty in the EU. So your country can't say no the same way a state can't say no when the feds show up.
Who wants this? Like, what citizen? If the people understood that this was happening, they would say, "What? No."
Remember what I mentioned about that tiny amount of people with all the money? That's who wants it.
We need to make sure they don't understand what's happening. It's like, you voted for this. I didn't understand.
Oh, they understand. And Apple has taken another slap on the wrist, but, well, actually, this might start to hurt more and more, right? Because their stock is tanking.
France's antitrust watchdog finds Apple for problems with app tracking transparency. So when this happened, when Apple announced they were making changes to do privacy tracking, we called it then. And that was like 73 episodes ago. And there it is. Look, the French government is saying, wait a minute, Apple destroyed this one business in order to enrich their own. That seems weird.
And if you think that there's a streaming service for everything, you're right. And oh my God, is it worse than you can imagine? Because when we say everything, we mean everything.
European police say KidFlix, one of the largest, worst kind of material you can think of platforms in the world, busted in a joint operation. And this has just lots of really terrible, like, I weep for humanity stuff in it.
If you're feeling a little fragile this week, do not read this article because it was grim. Also, the name KidFlix is like, it's like, oh, maybe it's like kids programming, but no, it's not.
I don't think anybody would stumble into it because it was on darknet, and you had to get. I think you had to use Bitcoin to get in.
Yeah, and this is also the kind of thing that's weaponized. Is like, hey, we need to deploy an AI agent on all of your devices that's just going to run in the background and make sure you're not doing this. And it's almost like, well, I mean, okay, you've worn me down. I've seen the horrors, but we can't do that. That's really terrible. Because it ends up being used for literally everything. It ends up being used for going 5 miles an hour over in the C-55 zone.
And that's not going to stop the problem.
And it's not going to stop the problem, yeah.
And the Dutch or the Dutch power is looking for an interesting thing here. I think this is one of those situations where it sounds good in theory, but in practice, how would you actually do this?
Oh, I have a much more sinister take.
Oh, okay.
Dutch lawmakers push for a red button to erase digital footprints. So Dutch lawmakers are envisioning a system where they have a big red button. And when you turn 18, they'll reach out to you and say, hey, you're 18. Would you like us to reset your digital presence? And you can hit the button for a small fee. And they've said they're going to keep it a very small, like $10, $20, some vanishingly small amount of money. But really it is, why do you need the government to do this? This is really, like, you could just do this yourself. You could do this at any moment. It's like, I'm feeling like it's a new year and I need to reset myself. I'm just going to log in and hit my own big red button. The government doesn't need to be involved in that. And that the government wants to be involved in that is a very big red flag.
But why would any of the online companies respect your button?
That's the thing. It's like they have
law.
Those, but they don't respect them most of the time.
Force of law? Then you need the government.
You need but the government shouldn't control the button. The government should be someone that you can tattle when they don't delete your data, and you can say, hey, they didn't delete my data, take action.
How would you know?
I think you'd know because you're still getting spam calls. It's like, hello, XX, something, destroyer, XX. And it's like, oh, they didn't delete my data because they're spamming me.
Well, if you've been following the trials and tribulations of YouTube over the past, couple of years, things have been more and more locked down and controlled and sterilized, and apparently that's what the market wants.
YouTube could be worth $550 billion as Analyst crowns platform new king of all media. How did YouTube become the king of all media? Because incumbent media companies so poorly understand the media that people want, they have made it more terrible than the average swill on YouTube.
I was going to say that YouTube's extremely advertiser friendly.
But so is network television.
Yeah.
And they're not surviving.
Thank you for watching.
Store.level1text.com.
Welcome to Costco. I love you. It is crazy how like idiocracy. It's like, man, it's like, the Easter celebration brought to you by Carl's Jr. Just, oh my gosh.
And Reddit had their big IPO and they were all excited. But since then, it has not been going well. And I imagine, I didn't look today, but I bet the number's much worse than this headline.
Reddit's 50% plunge fails to entice dip buyers as growth slows. Reddit, increasingly, no one cares. Like, they deleted the /r/place, I guess, and people lost their mind. And the popular subreddits are, not really as community controlled as they used to be because of moderator displacement. I mean,
they get rid of the people on one of the only places where, like, people were still talking to each other, and then they're like, I don't know what's wrong.
Yeah.
And any kind of independent thought on Reddit is just squashed immediately. So why would anybody go there? And they're not. At least not as much as they used to.
It's great for niche hobby groups.
And the other problem that they have, of course, is now they are playing in the publicly traded world, which is a good old boy network. And sometimes you get a tap on the shoulder.
Elon Musk makes requests to Reddit CEO to take down posts he didn't like.
Loser.
And then so Reddit moderators got wind of this and started posting more of it, which then also got taken down. And it turned into a Streisand effect. And then,
they got rid of the subreddit.
Yeah. So
he got his way. It's weird. It's weird how power will give you everything that you want.
Except for respect.
Are you really going to make me click this accept button? And Truth Social was a huge windfall for Trump after his election. Of course, it was, he hadn't sold anything, so it was unrealized gains. And it's been doing poorly, and maybe it's time to get a hold of that rug.
Truth Social falls after filing opens the door for the sale of Trump's $2.3 billion stake. It's not sold yet, but they just filed a thing that said, hey, we might liquidate all this.
Him, Pam Bondi, and a couple other his close crew all have a lot invested in this. And they've all filed, or I think this joint filing was like, the SEC, if you own a company like this, the SEC makes you tell them, hey, I'm thinking about selling. So you can't just surprise everybody. And Trump came out this and he was like, oh, no, that's just a regulatory thing. I'm not selling. But he's definitely opening the door to selling.
Yeah. I think someone is like, I wouldn't be surprised if like North Korea calls and it's like, hey, we've got all this Ethereum. Would you take some Ethereum? And it's like, yeah, sure, why not? Sounds good to me. I don't know. Maybe.
You think North Korea can call into the Oval Office phone? Are
yes,
they on the list?
Absolutely. They totally can. That's a thing. Oh, I don't know. It looks like it's going to be dark times for computer equipment chat. I hope not, but.
Just for computer equipment, not everything else.
I can speak the most of the computer equipment. Everything else is just I'm staring open mouthed.
No, it's definitely going to be everything. Here's the tip. Here's maybe one of the most important tips we can give you, other than get some chickens. Do some car maintenance right now.
Yeah. All right. On that happy note, bye.